Charles, hi!
Hey, Michael.
Hi, how are you? So, first question, how do you like it, AdventureX?
AdventureX is great. I'm always happy to talk about Broken Sword and my experiences, and as long as anybody's happy to listen, then, you know, as long as they're happy, then I'm happy.
Yeah? Did you meet some people that you didn't know, interesting ones?
It was lovely to see so many of the German, you know, and so Marco and yourself and Astrid, and not that Astrid's German, of course, but it's lovely that it's got an international flavour, and lots of people from Italy, so it's terrific actually. It's a really, really nice group of people. It's fantastic.
So we already had an interview, or Basti had an interview with you a few weeks ago.
Yeah, Basti has the most wonderful collection of hats, doesn't he?
Yeah, Basti is wonderful. He is wonderful.
He is wonderful, but even as great and wonderful as him are the hats that he wears. I'm always very jealous.
He was also very happy to meet you.
Oh, great! Well, it's lovely. He's lovely.
But after that video, the game was not released yet. So now it is released. So what do you think? Are you satisfied with it?
I'm very satisfied. I have received so many wonderful Facebook messages. I think we have an average on Metacritic from gamers of about close to 90%. So for people who like adventure games, we've had a fantastic response. A few people have said that it's a little bit quick to play, but it is only the first part. So when the two parts are played together, then it's going to be a very, very substantial game. At the moment, people are saying it's about 7 hours of gameplay. It's a really epic game split into two halves.
Did you expect 7 hours from players, or did you expect more?
I've always said 7 to 8.
7 to 8?
I've always said 7 to 8, and that came from our beta players.
Yeah, so it really fits with your expectations?
Yes, very much so. Oh yeah. But no, when I said 7 to 8, then I was quoting the beta players. We invited local people to come and play the game, and we just timed them and saw how they played and what they liked and what they didn't like. And that was really valuable. So for example, a couple of people had said that we gave too many clues away. So the development environment that we have is really good because our programmers have written some wonderful tools, and I can actually go in and see the scripts and comment out or just delete lines and change the logic slightly and rewrite things. And it's a real curse because I'll go in and of course break things, and the programmers keep a very clear log of who's changed what, so that if something does break, they know who to go back and blame, and it's usually me.
The second part is released in end of January?
End of January, that's what we're certainly aiming for, yes. Yeah. Certainly what we're aiming for. And I mean, really, it's very hard work because we launched the game on Wednesday, and Thursday was just trying to sort out any problems, and from Friday it's going straight on to episode 2. So I mean, it's lovely. I sat on the train on the way down, 2 hours from York to London. And it's lovely to be able to just put my headphones on and really concentrate on the last niggly parts, because we implement stuff and then things don't work, so it's a case of redesigning it and just working. So no, it's absolutely all hands to the deck now on finishing episode 2 in good time. And it'll be the end of January-ish. It might slip into February, but it's not going to be far off. So people are going to be able to play both parts within a short time scale.
And you expect the same playtime from the second part as?
The second part is we ramp up the energy. So I have no idea. Let's come up with a number. Let's say 5 hours. I don't know, but it's going to be slightly shorter.
So the pace is higher, but probably it might be a bit shorter.
Yeah.
And what people are very interested in Germany is if there is a retail version that will be released in the shelves.
Yes. Oh yes, but what we didn't want to do is a retail version of just one episode. So there absolutely will be. And I remember, because I'm old, those wonderful boxes from Microprose. And Microprose flight simulators, where you'd open the box and you knew that there was this fabulous manual that told you all about what you were about to play. Or the Ultima boxes, where you'd open up, I mean, Ultima 7 probably was the ultimate one, forgive the pun, where there'd be a cloth map and little things, and part of the joy was actually opening the box and finding all of these things. And then the publishers moved to making things as cheap as possible. So, although I can't promise because it depends on how much everything costs, but I'd love to be able to put out a box, not stupidly expensive, where actually you had comics and you had new things, and it became a joy to actually open the box rather than just simply take it out, take the shelf packing and put the game in.
But that means that there is no designs yet for the box that will be in the shelves, so we don't know when it will be released.
But there's no reason why it shouldn't be released at exactly the same time as Part 2. Or, well, when I say exactly, there's mastering, but there's no reason why it shouldn't come 1 or 2 weeks after Part 2. We're absolutely committed to doing a box version, and it will be very shortly after the release of Part 2.
So you're already in talks with a distributor?
Oh yes. Yes.
Also for the international market?
Yes.
Or?
And you know, Germany's got some really fantastic distributors, and we're talking to them. I mean, I can't talk about which, you know, but
okay.
You know, the thing is that in the UK we don't have a particularly big boxed market, and in Germany you still do. So you know, Germany's a very, very important market in that regard, and Germans for whatever reason love to have a physical copy, whereas you know in the US and to an extent within the UK, I think people are very happy to have a digital copy. It's just a different view towards, you know, owning a game.
That sounds great. Yeah, we love it. So, any questions from my colleague here from Adventure Games? No?
No.
No, I also don't have any.
Well, what I would like to say to Adventure Gamers and Adventure Treff is, you know, how great it was that a lot of your readers or viewers, is it a reader or a viewer? Reader. A lot of your readers.
We call them reader. Yeah.
Yeah, and it could be either, couldn't it?
Yeah, we also call them members.
Members. A lot of your members. That's a better term. A lot of your
yeah.
members will have been backers, and that's absolutely brilliant. So I do apologise at the chaos that ensued when we released the game on Wednesday, but it was all sorted within about an hour. And you're not live streaming. What? Are you going to?
I didn't see it. No, at the time.
Oh right. Okay. What I talked about was the chaos of what happened when we released the game, and I was still chasing our programmers to improve things at midday on the day that we were launching. We knew that it was going to go live at 6 and that there would be pandemonium, so we started putting the game together, and it finally uploaded. We uploaded it to Steam. Sorry, we uploaded it to GOG, who are a very important partner for us, and then we got it onto Steam 2 minutes before 6 o'clock. So we sat down and we cracked open a bottle of champagne, and then it became clear that actually the protection that Steam put in had in some way corrupted the file. So there were 15,000 backers, all of whom were going to get codes that didn't work, and were all the people that were buying it for the first time, and it wasn't going to work. And we had the Mac people shouting at us because there wasn't a Mac version, and we had the Linux people shouting. And I'd rather foolishly suggested that we have a video live stream at 6:30. So then 6:30 came, and the game wasn't ready. You know, we were having to upload the game, and we had limited bandwidth, and it was, well, we can either upload the game or we can do the live stream. It was absolute chaos. But an hour later, everybody was happy, the game was working, we were doing our live stream, and what my conclusion after many, many years of working in the games industry is that while going up to the launch, everybody is focused on that launch, but a day later, all that anybody cares about is the quality. It's all about the quality, and so it's very tempting to compromise quality, but it's something I try very hard to avoid. And this time I did push us to the wire, and it was all my fault. But I solved some things that I thought were very important to solve, and hopefully people now appreciate that the game is better because of it. We have a very passionate team, and they're great. They work really, really hard. And you know, as a developer, you have to have passionate people who really respect, you know, the fact that people are going to devote an awful lot of time and pay money for this entertainment product, and it's got to be really good.
I have another question. What will you do when you release the third part? Will you take holiday first? It must have been a very stressful time, because you've been working on the project before the Kickstarter already.
Yes.
For a year, I think, or
yes,
something like that.
2 years.
Yeah. Then you had the Kickstarter, what was very, very intensive work for a month, and after that you directly started producing.
Yeah, I did go, last September I went to Turkey for 3 days to go to a wonderful place called Göbekli Tepe, Göbekli. And that is a temple that's 15,000 years old. So it's the oldest, and it's been associated with the Garden of Eden. And it was funny because a very dear friend who we used to know, who's Turkish, Mevlut Dink, who wrote a game called Hammerfist, and he wrote First Samurai, and some really big Commodore 64 games, and they were converted. But he's in Istanbul, and the thing about Göbekli Tepe is that it's close to a city called Urfa, and Urfa is on the border of Syria. And so it's quite clear that there was going to be trouble, and indeed the Syrians have been bombing the Turkish border. But it was this great opportunity, so we flew into Urfa, and from the planes you could look down and you could see the smoke coming up from the border, where the shelling was. Now, the reason we felt very confident was that Mev had organised some of his colleagues who worked for Turk Telecom. So we had a fleet of Turk Telecom vans. We got into these Turk Telecom vans, and they looked after us so well. It was wonderful. And the other lovely thing is, and Urfa is very ancient, it's where, according to the Muslim tradition, where Abraham was killed, and where Job was born and died. So it's a very important biblical city. And it was just lovely to be able to go around, and actually there were no tourists. I mean, there wouldn't be very many tourists anyway, but with the war just on the border. And then we went off to this fantastic, fabulous temple that's so old. So I'd recommend it very highly. So I did that. That was a year and a bit ago.
3 days, in 2 years.
And then I also, I went off for a few days at Christmas, but that's been it. So this year, it's been absolutely relentless. Absolutely relentless. But that's, that's development for you. And, and then going on to a second one, the thing that my life has been dominated by, though, is that when you have a lot of employees, you reach the end of a project, and you desperately need a new project to go on to pay the wages. And that's really tough. Now, in about 2005, 2006, we had a project cancelled at Revolution, and we had to just close. I mean, we didn't go bankrupt or anything, but we had to make everybody redundant. And so we changed the way that we work. So now we work with freelancers. And that allows me to focus on Broken Sword 5. I can really focus on the end of Broken Sword 5, rather than having to worry about what we do next. Because everybody knows that the project comes and people go off and they go and work on other things, and we have a core team, and they'll continue to support it. But there isn't the pressure, which means that yes, I will be able to have to take a few days off. But my joy is going to places that might feature in a future game. So, I mean, I loved going to Istanbul, and I love going off to these places. So, I'm very lucky. I'm very lucky. I write stories and I write games, and they feature interesting places that I go off to, and you look for connections, interesting connections, and so anywhere I do go off to will almost certainly have some sort of involvement, potentially appearing in a future story.
So you already have ideas? Tons of? Yes,
and we'll prototype, and instead of having to rush in to doing a new project, we can actually take our time.
Yeah.
Take a month or so, come up with some ideas, relax slightly, and then do it all again.
Turkey could have also been an inspiration?
Turkey?
Where you've been? Last year?
Well, Istanbul very much so, because I love the whole idea of Constantinople and what was happening at that time. And Constantinople, of course, is named after Constantine the Great. And Constantine the Great was declared emperor in the city of York, which is where I live.
Yep.
And can I tell you a story which I think is quite fun, which I might have told you already? And if your members have heard this before, then I do apologise, but it is quite funny. When Take-Two decided that they wanted to write a game based on the Da Vinci Code, they phoned me up and asked if I'd be interested, and ironically I said, yeah, that sounds good. Although you've got to understand that I don't believe a word of it, and all of this stuff about the priori of science is nonsense. I mean, it really is nonsense. But as long as you accept that I don't believe it, because Dan Brown clearly does, then I'd be very happy. And then a day later they said, right, you've got to come to Los Angeles and meet Ron Howard, he's not happy. And I said, what am I meant to say? And they said, oh, don't worry, you don't need to say anything at all. Just be there. Just the fact that you're there is all that matters. Okay. So we go into this room, quite a big room, and loads of people from Sony Pictures, and the publisher Take-Two. And this wonderful woman who's the senior vice president of Sony Pictures says, Charles, this is going to get contentious. I'd keep your head down. Okay. So I sat at the back, and Ron Howard walks in, and he says, guys, I'm really sorry, but I'm not happy. There should be no video game. The senior vice president says, Ron, there's going to be a video game. These guys have paid good money. There's going to be a video game. And the lawyer says, Ron, that's it. Okay, she says, in that case, it has to come 6 months after the release of the film. Ron, it has to be day and date. That's what the contract says. It has to be day and date. He says, oh, this isn't good. He said, okay. He says, I can live with that as long as there's no marketing. And Ron, there has to be marketing. So he looks forward and says, so what are you going to do with my story? To which this lovely woman turns around and says, Ron, we're so pleased you've asked this question, because we've flown this guy all the way from England, and he's going to tell you what we're going to do with the story. So it's pretty hairy, and everyone's looking around the room, and I'm looking around the room, and I suddenly realise that everyone's looking at me. And I've got to try and talk about... So he says, but who are you anyway? What do you know about this stuff? So I said, well, Ron, I don't claim to know all that much factually, but I did go to a ceremony of the Knights Templar, 6 months ago, and it was very interesting. They had all the regalia. I did ask them what authority they had, and I'm not sure that, oh, where do you come from? I said, well, I live in the city of York in England, which of course is where Constantine the Great was declared emperor. He went, no, it wasn't Constantinople. I went, no, it was in York in England. Wow, he said. So, what are you going to do with the story? Which was not the question I was hoping he was going to ask. So I said, well, we're going to take the symbolism and we're going to push it. Cool, cool. Give me some examples. Well, Ron, as you'll know, in medieval paintings, the Virgin Mary is always painted with her outer garment being blue and Mary Magdalene red, so that even though the faces change as the medieval painters paint them differently, the symbolism is important. And he turned around to his writer, Akiva, and he said, Akiva, I love it. Now, Sophie Neveu, she's walking out of Roslyn Chapel, and she's wearing a shawl. And he looked at me and said, what colour? I said, red. Red for Mary Magdalene. Red shawl. And we got on really well, and all of these things went into the film. And she is indeed wearing a red shawl as she comes out of Roslyn Chapel. And, but unfortunately the game, which was written by a developer in the US who were very action-orientated, and they wrote an action-orientated game, which is a shame because it would have been a wonderful adventure. But actually, in the end, it wasn't very good. And I hope it wasn't my fault. And that's the end of my story. But then, a few months later, I went over to see Miramax and met with Harvey Weinstein, who I'm an enormous fan of, because he takes these films, he's a producer.
If there'll probably be a movie about Broken Sword, so
yeah, and
maybe we could see.
I've been asked by studios fairly regularly to come up with a story, and I try and write Broken Sword 1 as a linear story, and it works better as an interactive story. So the problem with a film is it takes up your life for however long, and my expertise is in writing interactive rather than linear. So it is something that we'd love to do, and it is something we're talking to studios about. And maybe, that's the great thing, once this is finished, without a huge... I couldn't have done it before because we had lots of staff that needed to be paid. So now we have the freedom to do whatever we want. Okay.
Good luck with what you're doing next. We are very, very looking forward what it will be.
Thank you, thank you. And I look forward to telling you all about it, and meeting your wonderful team, and indeed your wonderful team, Astrid.
And maybe we see each other again on Gamescom next year in summer. Because
very much so.
We love you to be there,
as
always.
Did you hear why I turned up late to your party?
Oh yeah, you went to the wrong direction with the train. And it happens also to other people. That's
is it?
So
it wasn't just me. I felt so stupid.
It's so easy to use the tube here in London. If you go to Germany, and sometimes with the bus and train systems, you're really confused because it's not that easy with the colours that's here.
Yeah, but this was. Did I tell you the story? Well, basically, I promised to meet a whole lot of wonderful, fans of Bartholomews Flug at the AdventureX party, and so I was running late, so I rushed to the Cologne Messe, and they have the fantastic trains, and the train was about to go, so I said to a guy who's going over, is this going to Cologne? He said, yeah, it's just 2 minutes. So I got on the train, and we went in the wrong direction, and then the guard came round, And I said, is this going to Cologne? He went, no. I said, which direction? He says, going towards Dusseldorf. I said, great. What's the next stop? He went, Dusseldorf. So I found myself going off to Dusseldorf. Thankfully, of course, the trains in Germany are so fast. I found myself steaming off to Dusseldorf, rushing across the platform and then getting the train back into Cologne. And actually it didn't matter in the least, and it was a very fun party, as it always is.
We are already booked for next year.
For your party?
Yes.
When well, I guess it's always on the Friday, isn't it? So
it's always on the Friday, yes, and we have already reserved the same location as last year, so if you want to come over...
Fantastic. I have to say I found it, because last year I found it really difficult to find.
Yeah, so it's easier this time because it's the same place.
Yes, absolutely, very much so, very much so. Yeah, well, I walked from Cologne last time because I had plenty of time. I walked up and down several times. I mean, the taxis all know where it is.
Yeah, you should take a taxi, they know where it is.
Yes, I will do.
Thank you, Charles.
Thank you, it's lovely to talk to you.